Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and a warm welcome to the penultimate Red and Blue review of the 2022 season. My name is Nick Philpott. I'm your host this evening, and what a lineup we have for you this evening. You'll see them appearing on screen in a smart speaker to play the latest Red and Blue review podcast. We also need you to like, share and subscribe to all your social media channels. Tell them all about the Red and Blue review. We want to get our numbers up. I'm sure I will be joined by my colleagues any second now. Greg will like, here they come. Yeah, please don't forget we're on Twitter. We have our own Instagram page, Red and Blue Review. Get on there and get it sorted out. While I'm waiting for the others to join us, Gel, good evening, mate. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. Thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, all good, buddy. All good. Mr. Noble, how are you, mate? Got over your trip yesterday?
Good evening, Nick. Good evening, everybody. I had a good trip yesterday. Very good. And we'll talk about it, I'm sure.
Indeed. I'm waiting for our special guest to join us. Oh, look, and there he is.
Here I am.
AKA the Ledge. Jim Cannon.
Anybody watching, I didn't put that on there. I don't know who did.
He texted me earlier, guys, and he asked me, how do you spell Ledge again? How do you spell Ledge again? Welcome back, mate. Nice to have you on again. How many have you done this season? It must be 6 or 7.
I don't know. Too many.
Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to tell you that Mr. Cannon, Lord Sir Cannon, has agreed to be a regular member of the team next season as well. So you won't see that this is not the last you see of him. He'll be on periodically right the way through next season. So, right, where should we start, guys? I'll tell you where we're going to go first, if you don't mind. Can we start? We will come to the game later on, and I promise you that we will do that. I want to talk about the event at Box Park early last week, the Player of the Year awards. Did any of you go, by the way?
No, I didn't. I watched it live, though. I watched it on Palace TV, and I watched every award being given out at Box Park. But I think some of the people in the chat were probably there. So if you were at Box Park last week, tell us what you think of it. What you thought of it.
Right. Yeah, no point asking you, Jill. I know. It's one of those things whereby that Palace TV that you mentioned it in, I've for the first time just subscribed to it for next season. The new season tickets come with you can actually pay an extra £50 and do something called Season Ticket Plus. And the Season Ticket Plus gives you all the content that they put out on Palace TV, the under-23s, the occasional ladies' game, the special events like Ian just alluded to. I think it's what's that? How disrespectful to Jim? They spelled your name wrong, have they, Jim?
Yeah. They didn't have a capital C, and they've changed it now. So,
Okay. Yeah, so that Palace Season Ticket Plus, if you're a season ticket holder, for the sake of another £50, I think it's well worth the money. So we're going to quickly zip through the awards that were given out, if you don't mind, boys. And I'd like to know if there any other other person worthy of the award as the ones that actually won it. We'll kick off with the goal of the season. Ian, the goal of the season went to Wilf. Remind us again what the goal was.
The goal was our equaliser away to Norwich City. And, of course, we drew the game 1-1. And if you remember, shortly after he scored, he missed the penalty, which was the worst miss ever from a penalty spot kick. And it's when I was talking about on the show, I made a faux pas, didn't I? I won't repeat what I said, but Joe will remember because he couldn't stop laughing. Anyway, Wilf in his interview, slightly embarrassing for him because the interviewer said, what did that goal mean to you? And so Wilf said something like, oh, well, it enabled the boys to fight back and get a point. Best not to mention the penalty miss Wilf in the same game. It was a great strike, to be fair, and it was well worthy of goal of the season.
Good evening to all of you watching on Facebook. I know Joe's going to say some of those shortly. Right, the under-23s and the under-18 winners, Joe, I'm coming to you with this because Teo Adramola, won the under-18s, and Jez Raksaki won the under-23 award. Let's do Adramola first. The manager, Mr. Vieira, has been intimating that he was going to actually start including these youngsters as part of the first team squad. Jez was on the bench last night for the Villa game. Do you think there's a spot for Teo, Jill?
Yeah, I mean, he's already played. So I always think that there's a spot. If it's not on the bench, then it's as close to. I mean, the benches nowadays, I don't know what they've got 15 seats behind them. Just chuck some of the younger players up there as even some of the even younger players for the experience of just being close to the action. Instead of being sat in the stands, pitch side, you can't get better than being pitch side. So yeah, no, I'd be happy if Teo was part of the squad, even if he played. I'd be happy.
We can't hear you, Nick. We can't hear you. I think
Marco, I'm sorry, I was on mute. Jim, I was asking you a question, mate. When you first joined the squad, when you scored that debut goal, how long had you actually been training with the squad first? Before that,
probably about 6 months.
So you were in and about around.
Yeah, you were in and around them. Yeah, but in them you probably trained, especially when Bert Head was manager, because his training was sort of practice matches. So the reserves of the youth team he wouldn't play the reserves because they all probably thought they would beat the first team. So the youth team used to play more against the first team. So it was more inclusive. Whereas now it's separate training grounds for youth team and first team, which I think is a good thing because it makes you feel quite good when you sort of cross the road. You start thinking, I'm moving on and doing what I want to do. But yeah, no, we were a bit more inclusive in them days.
So you knew all the
first. Yeah. But then, like these under 18 lads should know all the first team players. They watch them every week on the telly. So, I mean, they're not a million miles apart. They're only across the road.
Indeed. So, other awards. Tyreek Mitchell got Young Player of the Season. Anybody disagree with that?
No.
Can't argue with that.
No, absolutely. Obviously, the ladies' winner was Amy Everett. Great season for the ladies. I think they finished 4th or 5th. Tyreek, as you can see on screen. Community awards went to Leah Nicol and Nathan Ferguson. I'm glad Nathan's actually got a job now because he's not playing football. And of course, the player of the season, it was. I don't think there was any doubt. I saw some criticism online about the winner of this award because how can you give your player of the season to a loanee? But Conor Gallagher, massive congratulations from Red and Blue Review. Conor Gallagher, in my mind, rightly so, winning Player of the Year. Joe, was there anybody else up there? Joe, you got very quiet, mate.
Not at all.
So Connor's right. Joe, you're frozen. Ian.
Yeah, so Connor was nominated as in the top 3 initially. So it's Mark Geehee and Tyreek Mitchell were the top 3 players. What surprised me about that was that Wilf wasn't included in that. I can't see how he might not have won it ahead of Conor Gallagher, but I can't understand how Wilfried Zaha isn't considered in our best 3 players this season. That did surprise me.
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned it because it was something I was coming on to anyway. It's to me it indicates how the season has moved on. Mark Geary said about you can easily say Joachim Andersen and the same thing. Connor, obviously, young Tyreek. Okay, hang on a minute. We were missing the former linchpin here, which was Wilfried Zaha. It was actually something I was going to come on to. I was going to ask Joe about. Joe, can you hear me? Okay, mate.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah, we can just see the bottom of your cup. Okay, you carry on talking because all we can see is the bottom of your cup. Joe, Conor Gallagher, anything wrong with giving it to a loanee?
No, not at all. Be really disingenuous as well if he didn't get it. I mean, there's some. I bet these are some of the same fans saying that he shouldn't have got it because he's a loanee that sing his song. I don't get it. I mean, he's been our best player. and without him, I reckon he's won us many points this season. His enthusiasm has rubbed off on the team, almost changed the style of our play in the midfield. He has. So, he's massively earned it, deserved it, and got given it. And I don't care, I don't know what the wages situation, but if we're paying his wages, then he's our player. So he deserves the player of the season.
Absolutely right. I mean, I haven't got his stats to hand, but it's Jill. Can you do some shout outs in a minute, mate? I know he's got 6 assists and is it 8 goals, I believe he's got so far this season. And do you know what? It's none of that. Okay, although obviously it's given us a great platform this season. Do you know what I'm thrilled about with Conor Gallagher is how he's played with his enthusiasm and with that smile on his face, and how he's embraced the fan base. Okay, whether he goes or not, okay, he's not our player, he's Chelsea's player. If we get him, fantastic. But it's the way he's actually played this season with that smile on his face, his big beaming smile. And of course, and I still maintain that relationship he's got with Mark Geehee is going to be fundamental in his decision-making process come the 1st of June. Jim, do you think? Go on in. You go first. I was going to ask you.
I was just going to make a point that Paul Bristow says, strange that a young player of the season is actually older than the winner of the player of the season. I suppose you pick your best player as player of the season is what I would say to that, Paul. And Tarek still qualifies as young player, which is why he picked that up. But of course, the point I want to make is that both of those players have been nominated for the Premier League's Young Player of the Season. And I think that's a tremendous accolade to Crystal Palace Football Club. Other people in that are players like, Phil Foden, Trent Alexander-Arnold and players like this at the top clubs. So to have 2 players out of the total 8 that are nominees for Young Player of the Season for the Premier League, I think is absolutely fantastic, and well done to them both for that.
And it shouldn't go unmentioned. Also, Patrick Vieira, of course, has been nominated for Manager of the Season alongside Pep and the other geezer, whatever his name is. Jill, was that you?
No.
Oh, sorry, I could hear an echo. Jim, so I know I asked you this earlier in the season. Talk to me about Gallagher. Is there any chance?
I suppose the first thing is depends how much money they're going to ask for him. Second thing is, would he rather play at Stamford Bridge than Selhurst Park? I would think the answer is quite definite. Yes, he would rather play at Stamford Bridge. But the next question is he going to get a game? So there's about 4 scenarios there that he and his agents have got to look at and decide what's what. Chelsea might just say, right, you're coming back here, and that's it. So he's probably maybe hasn't got a decision. But I would imagine looking at how he wants to play, I can't actually see him playing in Chelsea's team on a regular basis. He will get in the team, but they've got half a dozen midfield players that are all, well, some of them are world class. You've got Mason Mount, who's in front of him in the England squad or the England team. So it's a difficult thing for the lad. Might be taken out of his hands because Tuchel might just say, "Oh, you're coming back," and that's it. If they do want to sell him, I think you'd be looking at in excess of 50, 60 million. So I can't see us paying that for a player. Best thing would be just get him for another year on loan. That gives him another year of experience playing in the Premier League. And by then, Chelsea, and you've got to remember, Chelsea are going through a bit of a change at the moment. And they're not going to be splashing the money that they splashed a few years ago under Abramovich. So when the people that are running that club now want money back out of it, Abramovich probably weren't interested because he had so much. So it's all a bit like hit and miss there, I think, as far as how much Chelsea are going to spend. If they're not going to spend, then they probably want Gallagher back. So it'll be. I would like to see him come and play for us for another year on loan, and maybe that might be the best thing for Chelsea and us.
Ian, and then I'm Jill. Do some hellos, please, mate.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you there, Jim. I think Chelsea will need money. They want to raise money. And if they can raise 50, 60 million from the sale of Conor Gallagher, if he's not going to feature as first choice in their team, as you're right, they've got a multitude of players and options in the midfield. And I think the deciding factor that might mean Conor Gallagher leaves Chelsea on a permanent basis or even on another season loan is simply that it's a World Cup year. So the World Cup happens in November. And I think Conor Gallagher needs to be playing regular first-team football if he wants to be on that plane to Qatar. And if he's not playing regularly, he ain't going to be going. It's as simple as that. So Gareth Southgate's probably whispered that in his ear already. If you want to go to the World Cup, you need to be playing regular football. And he's earned his place in the England squad by playing regular football and playing really well in the Premier League for Crystal Palace. So sort of what's not to like about going forward. And, if not coming on a permanent basis, but at least extending it another 12 months, as you suggest, Jim.
Absolutely. He's only going to have 4 months to prove himself because that start of the season to the start of the World Cup is only months away. So you don't really want to be sitting languishing in the subs bench at Stamford Bridge.
Boys, you're both talking a lot of sense. Joe.
Well, let's just go 16, 17 minutes in. This eventually we'll go to the chat. Ian Appley, Phil Usher, Luke Cooper, Steve Twin, Rob Cranfield, George Wagwood, Tom Clark Samuel, Steve Chandler, Paul Bristow, Renshaw Barker, Charlie Byrne, Paul Holden, Chris Young, Lee Clark, Stephen Isles, Daniel Garlick, James Convey, Graham Kitchen, Paul Gruber, Tony Quinn, John Knox. Yeah, it's the usual suspects out there. There's been not a lot different to what you guys have been talking about, what we've been talking about a year. But yeah, it's Lee Lockwood's just come up with a point. Jim, you get a little bit envious seeing the Palace players playing on better surfaces these days. Don't know if you've been asked that before. Usually, it's all about are you gutted about the money that they get. But that's a real good question, Lee. The pitch at Selhurst Park. How do you feel about that now, Jim?
The pitch at Selhurst Park. Well, apparently the managers have been complaining about it. It looked a bit rough the other week when I watched it, but even rough is a million times better than when we played on it. It was like that for about 4 weeks of the season. That was the first 4 games. And then as soon as the weather changed, it was a bit different. It's obviously nice to play. They've got to have it. The Premier League demand that the pitches are that quality, so which is nice. If you go further down the leagues, you can see the pitches are a little bit different. But yeah, it'd be nice to play on pitches like that. But I quite like playing in the old mud in the rain sometimes, sliding in and whacking people. You couldn't do that nowadays.
It's a great leveler, wasn't it, Jim? The mud and the rain.
Well, it was nice when you were playing Liverpool because it was harder for them to play football. So
exactly, yeah. Wasn't it Pep Guardiola had a little moan about the pitch, didn't he?
It was, Man City.
Yeah, but to be fair, I went down and had a look at the pitch and it did look a bit better. And I asked one of the staff and they said they've had a bit of a problem with it, but it looked all right last week when I watched the game. So it's I'm no doubt it'll be dug up again and another $500,000 spent on it and relaid. So
right, before we move on to the game, a couple more points I wanted to talk about as the Dogs decided to start throwing the toys out of the Premier League on. The finishing up the Player of the Year awards, I noticed that they didn't do the usual or the customary launch of the new kit for this season. Yeah, the one I thought it was a little bit early for the Player of the Year award. The season hasn't even finished yet. They normally do it at the end of the season. And 2, they normally launch the new kits. Bit strange, Ian?
Yeah, I think so. But I think also the Player of the Year awards ceremony was early this year, and it wasn't just us because Aston Villa alluded to it in their match day program. So they had their awards this week as well. I think awards should be at the end of the season when we've actually finished playing rather than with 3 games still to go. But I think there's so much going on in the game at the moment. They have to fit it in where they can. So I think it's probably the reason why the kit hasn't been revealed quite yet. If you remember a few years ago, we played in our kit for the following season, the final home game against Bournemouth. So that we launched the kit in the final home game. So we've done that kind of thing before. So it'll be interesting to see how soon the kits do get announced. And just coming back to the awards night, of course, Mark Gahey won the Players' Player of the Year. Were you going to mention that, Nick, or not?
No, I've forgotten about that one. No, you're quite.
It was great to see him get that award. And if you haven't seen it, the video of the players putting their entries in the secret ballot box is well worth a watch. It's quite funny. So they're doing it down at Beckenham training pitch, and they've got a box there, and they've got the slips of paper, and they're writing them out. And Tariq Mitchell's there, and someone shouts at him, "Oi, Tariq, you're not allowed to vote for yourself." You know, and it was quite amusing, you know. So if you haven't seen it, try and find it online somewhere. That was fun.
Yeah, Jill, I was coming to you anyway, Jill, but so I'll ask you the question and then you can give us your point. Jill, the other thing that the chairman alluded to on that awards evening was because of the success of the 5 or 6 players we brought in at the end of last season, he wants to kick on again. To me, he was intimating that Vieira is going to have a bit of a war chest this summer. What would you do, and where would you replace or bring in and like to strengthen, and also obviously give you a point as well?
Oh Christ, that is the most loaded question I've had this season.
You try.
So apart from Jimmy Mack, I think has he signed another deal? All the players
he has signed an extension.
Yeah. So apart from Jimmy Mack, all the other players that haven't signed, I would say that's the right decision to move them on, and there's some big money in there as well. So I think I'm hoping that if we can move Benteke on, that we can use that money as a bit of a sweetener to try and get Gallagher, because he'll want a wage increase, especially after his England call up now, even if it's on loan. I don't think, from the noises that Parish has been making, that buying him is out of the question. I really don't think he's, I know people say 50, 60 million, but that is the average price is just going up and up and up when it comes to Premier League teams dealing with their better players. So my only thing is if he wants to come and play football because he wants to play with his mate, then my thing is Newcastle. I mean, they've got more money than City now. So, but yeah, going back to Chris, he asked me what game I was watching, and it is the Arsenal versus City game, which is 0-0 if anyone's interested. Not. And then Rob says I'd like to extend Ayu's contract for a further 3 seasons. I would pay him if he wants to go and play for AFC Wimbledon or someone like that. Wouldn't be a problem. But yeah, it's these seems that the end of the season, going back to what we've just been talking about trying to fit things in. I think the players are probably wanting. I imagine that they've been consulted by the PFA. They'll be wanting holidays before the mental rush of the start of the season and then the World Cup. It's for a lot of our players now, it won't be a rest. They will be on international duty, a lot of our players. So I think the reason that all the award ceremonies and the beer festivals and everything has just been launched in early-ish. I don't know about the beer festival, whether that was usually the date. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, football's just changing now, isn't it? Everything is about the dollar, and it really is about the dollar now. So it's for the older discerning fan. Change is sometimes a little bit hard to take, but yeah, it just seems the way that it's going these days. But going back to your initial question, Nick, I'd only like to see Jimmy Mack out of all the players that are out of contract. I would only like to see Jimmy Mack. I mean, it just proved beyond all doubt, that he still has a great engine. He's great in a tackle. He's enthusiastic. And I don't think really there'd be anybody that would ruck if he was just given the captain's armband for the foreseeable future, because he plays like a captain and he just leads by example. Love the geezer.
There is one potential signing or re-signing that we haven't mentioned. And I think one of the best bits of business the chairman could do this summer is extending Michael Olise's contract, getting rid of that 30 million, which clearly is there now. I know we speculated about it early on some previous shows, but it clearly is there. He's got a 30 million pound buyout, but there is serious talk around about us extending, and the fact that he wants to extend his contract. What sort of player we got there, Jim?
Well, he's got tremendous potential. He's shown that week in, week out. He's becoming a regular sort of performer, and he gets bums off seats when people are watching a game of football. And they've got to extend his contract and pay him 100 grand a week because he's that type of player. And but the buyout clause is something like, once that's sort of like initiated, then he could be off. So, but I think he seems an intelligent young lad. I mean, he's maturing very quickly. He's come from the Championship last year. I think he's enjoying his time under Patrick Vieira. So I can't see any problem him not signing a new contract.
He's, I mean, and we know for our benefit the value of the buyout clause, because obviously we triggered his £8 million buyout clause from Reading, of course. Jim and Ian, I know you noted down that question from Mark a minute ago. I'm coming to you on that in a second. Jim, well, a question in the chat was about your connection. Have you got any connection with New Zealand, Jim?
No.
Because somebody just said to me, I said in the chat, that you're not just a legend at Palace, you're a legend in New Zealand as well. And I couldn't work out why. But
well, that's because I'm famous.
Ah, is that what it is?
When you're a legend, that your name travels far places. In Google, it's quite easy. Somebody in New Zealand Googled my name and went, oh, yeah.
I must remember to retype your Wikipedia page, actually.
You haven't even been there on holiday, Jim, have you? Haven't even been there on holiday.
Rovers or whatever it is. Sorry? I missed that. What was that?
I was going to say, you haven't even been to New Zealand on holiday, have you?
No, it's a bit too far from me. Although my wife keeps on. She's got a relative out there, so she'd probably like to go out there, but it's too far to travel.
Tony Quinn just asked the question, and there was another question that went through in. I thought you were writing it down. Tony Quinn asked the big question: will Wilf leave? Because he's now not the big cog in the small wheel anymore. He's just an average cog in an ever improving. Gel, I'm coming to you. Is Wilf going to go this summer? Because his contract's up at the end of next year.
No. And when he's on it, he still is the big cog in our wheel. But it's when he's not. Like I said, the fan base, I've said this before, I think the fan base is 50-50. If we get offered a silly amount of money, I think people would say, take it. Takes a huge wage off the bill again, and it'll allow us to bring in, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, decent championship players. I don't know. It's but he has that, he has that experience now. But yeah, I've said, if he goes, he goes, and he'll go with thanks. And if he stays, then he'll get his statue. Not before Jim, I hope, but
I think it's hard for any manager to let a player that scored 11 goals in the Premiership go. I can't see Crystal Palace wanting him to go anywhere. I mean, I can understand he does blow hot and cold, but he's blowing hotter under Patrick Vieira because his workload's probably a lot less than doing what Roy Hodgson had him doing, probably chasing back all day long. So when he actually gets the ball now, he's more in a position, and he's actually, and I'm sure this is Patrick, been working on him. You've got the ability to get up people, come inside. He never used to look for goals when, like 2 years ago, he'd come inside, but then he'd either try and cross it or go back down the line. Every time he comes inside now, he's looking to bend that ball in that top corner. And if it don't happen, it rebounds somewhere and other people sort of pick up the pieces. So I think it'd be very difficult to lose a player. He's not probably, like you're right in the sense he's probably not the number one anymore, because we've got 3 or 4 players, maybe 5 players that are equally as good as him. But them players don't score 11 goals and create a few. So I would like to see him stay personally.
Can't hear again, Nick.
Muted. Still muted.
Maybe it's the best way with him.
There you go. Yeah, I heard that. Jim, your point's verified because he got the player of the the goal of the season award. Okay, doing just how you just described, cutting in off the left, putting in the top right hand corner of the net, and it's well made. Yeah. I mean, the other thing I've noticed recently in the last couple of games is, he's a moaning bastard and he gets on my tits sometimes because of it. However, yesterday was the case in point that I really enjoyed it because he was pantomime villain. Okay, he was really, and to the point where he was actually encouraging it from the home fans. Ian, you were there yesterday. Talk us through what you saw in Zaha with the Villa crowd yesterday.
Yeah, they were on his back and, saying he's always diving and giving him stick. Of course, Villa, like a lot of teams this season, they were rotationally fouling him. How McGinn wasn't booked is beyond me. He fouled him 4 or 5 times. And although the referee was giving us free kicks most of the time correctly, what he wasn't doing, he wasn't booking the Villa players. He wasn't talking to them. And therefore, in other words, they were getting away with it. And he was having a moan in the referee's ear, quite a lot, actually, really, especially in the second half. And I thought, do you know what? He's going to get booked. Because, you are allowed to talk to the refs, Jim, aren't you? You can talk to them. That's allowed. It's how you say it. And Will's language was all about, he's aggressive when he's right up close to the referee. And I said to my mate, he's going to get booked in a minute. And he didn't. He got away with it. But he just did moan a lot. But you're right. He was like egging the Villa fans on, doing this, to encourage them to sing. And then they were singing he's going to dive in a minute or he's going to cry in a minute, they were singing. And then Palace fans responded by saying he's going to score in a minute. And he's just too good for you. So there's a good bit of banter, I suppose. And I've seen a lot on Twitter today about Villa fans saying, fair play to Zaha. We all hate him when he's playing against us. But my goodness me, what a player. We'd all love him in our team.
And by the way, we are going to try and get together some clips of the season, okay? And one of the clips, Jill, I'm coming to you now because I know you wanted to make a point. But one of the clips of the season, Mr. Cannon, was when you discussed on one of the previous shows about your thoughts on the referees. It was just, I've listened to it back since then. It was just comedy gold, mate, and it's why you're here. Joe, you wanted to say something, mate?
Again, while you were talking to Jim, there's a couple of bits. So, it's just moved. Hang on a second. So, Kevin Benson said, Jim was my best Subbuteo player in 1978. He scored in the New Zealand Championships wearing the sack. So, I think that's why he's a legend down in New Zealand. Got a feeling Kevin Benson's down in New Zealand.
He is.
Andy Stacey comes up with a question. He says, Jim, who's your number 1 for the Palace now?
Who's my number 1? What, in like top player?
Keeper.
Oh, keeper?
No, keeper.
Well, I'd probably Butland's good keeper, but I would say that I can't even pronounce his name. He's probably still number 1. Yeah, there's not much between the two of them. I would say one's got a slight weakness in crosses, but is probably a better shot stopper. No, I think the keepers in general have not really let us down. Made the odd mistake, but they all do. No, I've got no problem with either one of them.
I think there's something we haven't touched on, boys. I was actually surprised to see Guaita on the bench yesterday because I'd had a report following whatever our previous home game was. I can't even remember what it was now. The Watford game. I'd had reports after that game from 2 or 3 varying sources that not only was Guaita injured, but Guaita was seriously injured. And to the point where somebody even used the words, career threatening, and then all of a sudden he's on the bench a lot yesterday, so which is good. And of course, Michael Elise now out for the rest of the season. I know it's only 2 games, but I don't think that's too bad a thing. If I'm honest with you, he's had a hell of a season. Give his body the chance to recover for the start of next season and kick on again for how he's been all through the year. Right, so yesterday's lineup: Butland in goal, Klein, Gehi, Anderson, Mitchell, Kouate, Milivojevic, Gallagher, Eze, Matata, and Zaha on the pitch. Jim, I'm coming to you first of all because we were talking pre-show with the lineup, okay, and the fact that we played with 3 central defenders, 5 across the back, with Milivojevic sitting in front of those back 3. Interesting that the manager started off with 5 across the back and then in-game changed it to a 4 at the back. Is that something that used to happen in your day, where the manager would actually change it during the game?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, if things aren't going the way he wanted, you would change it. But I mean, it's easy to change if you're playing 3 at the back and you suddenly decide that maybe they're getting a bit too much room in that area. Then it's quite easy to change it to 4. You would. I don't think I actually played in a 4 at the back that suddenly get changed to 3. So, but I mean, it's although you're saying 5 at the back, it's not 5 at the back. The 2 fullbacks should be pushed on and playing in the middle of the park, and the 2 wide men should be pushed on a little bit further as well. So it sounds negative when you say 5 at the back. It's just to me, it's 3 at the back. But I mean, Kouate played against Chelsea more or less in the same position. He more or less man-marked Werner, who I couldn't believe when they read out the player of the match, and it was Werner against Palace in the semi-final of the Cup, and I thought, he's not had a kick. He's not done nothing. But, yeah, managers change. That a good manager will see something and change it, whether it's changing from 4 or 3 or pushing somebody further up the park to make a 3 at the front as opposed to 2. So you work on training and you work on different systems. So it should never be a problem. It's not like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. This is stuff that's been worked on day in, day out on the training ground. So, and these players are all good players, so they should be able to adapt to whatever situation the manager puts them in.
Joe, last season you were bemoaning the fact that we were static, we had nothing, we had no plan B and everything else. What you got here with this manager who's doing wonders for our club is that he has a plan B. He's quite happy to, as Jim just alluded to change it to 4 at the back from 3 central defenders. You must be orgasmic over what you're seeing at the moment.
Listen, it's refreshing, isn't it, to have someone who firstly has the bottles of change, a formation like he does, but also sort of pulling it off where our players can play to that formation, whatever it changes to. That's where we've always struggled in the past. But yeah, no. Again, he obviously, just being the international class player that he was, Vieira, he just has, he's worked under the tutelage of some great managers and alongside some players that have gone on to do stuff. But yeah, I'm very happy with the way that things are going. I've just got another couple of little bits and pieces. Obviously, with Jim on it, everyone wants to sort of fire questions. And the Jim and Lee Lockwood show this is turning out to be. So Lee Lockwood says, Jim, someone told me both Dennis Wise and John Fashanu played with the squad in the 1980s. Is that true, or someone pulling my leg? Because as I can't remember that.
John Fashanu was with us when, so it must have been about 83, 84, when Alan Mallory was manager. I can't remember what team he come from. And he should have played in a cup game against Peterborough. We were 3-0 up. So it was the second leg of a League Cup. And he was in the dressing room getting changed, and Ron Nodes, or it wasn't Ron Nodes, it was the secretary, came in, had a word with Alan Mallory, and John Fashanu ends up having to get out his kit and put his clothes back on. And apparently it was, I don't know if it was Lincoln or whatever club he come from. They wanted about £12,000 for him. And Ron Knowles said that they would pay him £500 over 2 years. And the chairman of, I can't remember what team it was, but told Ron Knowles to stick it up his backside and he can't play. So, but he was brilliant. He was training with us and I thought, oh, this lad's good. Ever such a polite guy, but a big old lump. I mean, as he was all through his career. And you could see he could play. And we missed a real chance there over a few grand. But
why am I not surprised you saying about Ron Knowles is what you did? It never ceases to amaze me. I mean, you can't fault the guy. Brilliant, a brilliant chairman for us. I think he did a lot of good. I know he's got a bad press out there, but anyway, Paul Bristow saying he thinks Fash was on loan from Norwich.
No, he wasn't.
Mark Callaghan said it's Lincoln City, he thinks.
Yeah, I think it was Lincoln. And we could have signed him, but we couldn't afford £12,000.
Right, Ian, do us a favour. Spend 5 minutes and eulogise about yesterday's game. It was a well-earned 1-1 draw. I think we were unlucky not to win the game. Jim's point just a minute ago about the fullbacks pushing on. We could have easily snatched it with Nathaniel Klein had a good shot. How was your day? Tell us about the game.
Yeah. It was it was a good day. Long old trip on the train. Train stopped everywhere on the way up and on the way back. But that aside, we were on the same train up as Steve Parish, and a quick word with him on the way up. But so yeah, we have 52% possession. So as the away side, that's it's 50-50 almost. But we shaded that. We had a few more shots than them. We had 5 corners to their 1, and. It was you got 2 mid-table teams here, really trying to finish as high as we possibly can, fairly evenly matched, and you can't argue with the end result, really, at the end of the day. A draw always feels better when you come from behind to level it rather than have the lead and then concede the lead. So, from that point of view, it didn't feel too bad walking away from Villa Park with a share of the spoils. But, yeah, I mean, I think we played well in the first half. We started brightly enough. We were talking earlier about Wilf, and he's taking shots on, and he stung the palms of Martinez early in the first half. Really good shot that on another day might have just veered away and got in. I just think that we shaded the first half, and we looked the better side, really. So I felt comfortable going in at 0-0. And and we carried this on into the second period as well. We had more possession. We looked the better team, and I think their goal sort of came against the run of play, really. And I thought they were a tad lucky. You watch this goal back. This could have easily been ruled out. There was a bodies coming together with Mark Gallagher and Watkins in the box. And what Vieira said in his post-match press conference is the real nub of this, is that we've got to stop the crosses coming in to the box in the first place. And it was Dean, the French left back, that got the ball in, and it was a great cross. You can't fault that. But the reason it was a great cross, he had time to steady himself and pick his spot. And it was Gallagher that was slow in closing him down. Conor Gallagher didn't have his best game yesterday, and he didn't do anything badly wrong. But he's not quite as sharp as he was earlier in the season. Probably since he didn't play in the semi-finals since he played for England, really, if I'm honest. But it was Conor Gallagher that didn't close the fullback down when he put the ball in, and they got their goal. And even once they scored it, obviously they're all celebrating, the Villa fans. And I'm thinking, actually, this could get ruled out. But it wasn't. The VAR officials looked at it. And I think Mark Gee was just the wrong side of Watkins. So, they got their goal. But, this is Crystal Palace 2022 style. We just don't give up. We came from behind to win 2-1 at Southampton the other week. And we came from behind to snatch a draw yesterday. And the substitutions did the trick. So it was Jeffrey Schlupp that came on. Edouard had come on a little bit earlier, looked lively for sure. Again, I still think Edouard is the better player out of him and Mateta. And it's just a question of who gets the shirt. There's not a lot of difference between them. Edouard did impress me when he came on yesterday. And Benteke did all right as well in his cameo. But it was Schlupp that got the goal. It was a corner. Mark Gee headed it on, great header, and Schlupp was, the quickest to react in the box to level it at 1-1. And we had one or two other half chances. Wilf had a chance where he really should have passed it earlier to Mateta, which could and should have resulted in a goal. But at the end of the day, you come away from there, as I said earlier, having been behind and to get the point, and no arguments really with that from me.
Thank you, mate. Jill, your thoughts on the Villa goal? Was that a foul on Gehe? It seemed to come off his backside into the back of the net, but Jim, I'm going to be asking you the same thing from a defender's point of view in a minute. Was that a foul? Should it have been given? I mean, I know VAR did look at it, but it just seemed a very strange goal.
You're asking me?
If it's the top,
sorry. Go on, Joe.
It's a foul if it's the top six side.
Is that it? Okay, Jim.
No, I think I wouldn't say it was a foul. I said they were both sort of like trying to hold on to one another. Ian's right. Gehe got totally in the wrong side of him, and it was and the ball was behind him, and he was trying to run back behind. He hadn't a clue what was going on. He just got too tight for a minute, and the ball could have gone anywhere, couldn't it? I mean, it wasn't a good goal. It was just the guy. I thought Gehe scored it, but I think they're saying that he just stuck so it's gone through his legs. So could have gone anywhere. But I think, obviously, Ian's already said crosses should be. That's how you stop it. Don't let the cross come into the box. But crosses are going to come into the box. And the modern day defender seems to want to put his arms around the centre forward. In my day, I wanted arm's length because I wanted to go and attack the ball. I weren't worried about him as long as I could see him. Nowadays, you watch corners. I mean, they're hugging one another. I mean, if they were out in the street, they'd get done for rape, wouldn't they? I mean, they're literally hugging and pulling. And I think it's just all wrong to me because I want a yard to go. My thought is I want to go and attack that ball and header it out. I don't want to fight him and stop. The only way to stop him is for me to go and header it. But it seems to be a modern thing where they all sort of grab one another. And I think just Gehe got a little bit too tight and he got the wrong side. And the ball came in quite quick. It was a decent ball in. But he made up for it. I mean, Anderson hit a great cross back to him from the corner. Gallagher's ball went out. Anderson, most players might have left that, but he went out and he just whipped it back in. First time, great header from Gehe, and Slappy done the rest. So that made up for his. I wouldn't say it was an error. He just got caught wrong side of the Watkins.
But you could tell he was annoyed with himself. He thought it was a foul at the time because he reacted. You never see him react otherwise, do you? He's the most placid of the centre backs, isn't he, Mark Gehe?
Yeah.
John,
I think he knew he'd got himself in the wrong position though, because he didn't really know. He didn't really know where the ball was going. He'd lost. The player was behind him, and I mean, these things happen really quick, and sometimes you get caught out.
Jim, you touched on Anderson and one of his balls out from defence. I don't know if you've been reading the same stuff as I've been reading today, but I know he didn't get nominated for Player of the Season award, but he actually tops the charts. Joachim Anderson tops the charts on the long balls out of defence, crossfield passes that have actually found their target this season throughout the whole Premier League. Joachim Anderson tops the charts for it. Joe, you wanted to jump in, mate?
Yeah, and all I'm going to keep doing now is just reading out questions for Jim, really. So Matty Cannon says, with Kay and Anderson, fantastic partnership this season. Who is the best centre half you have played alongside? There's
quite a few I played with. I think I played about 20 centre halves. Probably the most successful one was Billy Gilbert. He was a good player, young lad when he came into the side after Ian Evans had broke his leg. Ian was like your typical big 6'3" centre half, win everything in the air. Easy to play alongside him. You just pick all the bits up. But Billy was probably the best one I played with.
Anything else, Jill, from there?
Fair enough. Oh, there's loads of questions. So Rob Cranfield said, in the Ledges day, men were men and got stuck in. Yeah, I suppose so. It's just a little bit. I think what you get from back in the day to now, I mean, with the odd player that sort of had skill, I think the skill levels on a different. Well, it's just a different level these days. I think I know there were good players, but and the odd good player going through the Letizia and Hoddle, legends in their own right. But nowadays you've got loads. I think there's more players that are all. I just think they're a bit better these days.
Yeah, but it's easy to say that because you see every game of football in all the leagues all over the world. You get to watch. You didn't get to watch that in our day. You couldn't see. You saw 3 clippets of 5 minutes each game.
Yeah. In
Britain. So I think that comment. When you look at the players like Rodney Marsh, George Best, Bobby Moore, Trevor Brooken, all these players would be world class playing out on the pitch today. So I think you're generalising there, and I don't think you're right because you can see everybody now where you couldn't see anybody in them days.
Excellent. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, on Facebook land, we're entering the last 10 minutes of the show. Please, if you have got a question for Jim, whack it in now. Jim, for the benefit of those that are watching tonight that didn't watch whichever show it was that you did before, and you eulogising about the current day referees, okay, please tell everybody again what you think of the referees today. Yeah, do it.
I can't remember what I said.
Can you remember the actual phrase, Jill? I can't remember.
I think he said
no.
I think he said something like it rhymed with German tankers or something like that. I think it was something like that. German tanker or.
I'll tell you that we will. Nigel will find that clip and we'll send this here, mate, just to remind you. So, speaking after the game yesterday, Crystal Palace manager Patrick Vieira challenged his side to clinch a top half finish and end a pleasing first season under his tenure, which also included the great FA Cup semi-final run on a positive note. The Palace are now unbeaten in 4 games following this draw and require 4 points from their final 2 matches to end the season, the highest Premier League points tally on 49, achieved in 1992-93 season and 2018-2019 season.
Nick,
okay, go.
Nick, the only one that counts really is the 18-19 season because there were more games played in the other one that you mentioned. So it's to equal the points tally. And of course, if we win those last 2 games, we get our best ever points tally in a 38-game Premier League season, which I think would be a fantastic achievement, of course.
Yeah, point well made. And the reason I'm not too worried about the Man United game because that'll come and go, and it'll be the end of the season. They'll walk around the pitch, wait for everybody, and that'll be great. The game I really want to win, I really want to win, is the Everton game. Fat Frank didn't want to take on the project of Crystal Palace because he thought they'd be in a relegation battle and it'd be too difficult to challenge to take on. Now look at him. Yeah, get on with it, Lampard. Yeah, Jill.
Jim, Paul Bristow said, was the emergence of Kenny Sampson a factor in you moving from left back to centre back, or was it self-preservation of your place in the team?
It was both. No, I was always a centre half. Malcolm Allison decided that he wanted me to play left back, and in them days we played 3 at the back. That was in 1976, 5 across the middle. So I ended up playing wing back, and then when Terry Venables got more involved, I kept saying to him, because he'd never seen me other than a left back. And one particular game we were playing, it was obviously a 3rd division game, centre half was injured. And he said, okay, he said, right, he says, I'll play you there. He says, I don't know what you can do there. And I played the game and he never moved me again. So it was obviously knew that Kenny was coming through the team. Even as a 16-year-old, you could see he was world class. And but I wanted to get back to my rightful position as a centre half. So it worked out just right for both of us.
Right, boys, we're going to wrap up shortly, but before we do, a couple of things. Jill, just check the chat for us, see if there's any other questions for Jim. Relegation spot, one left. So we have Leeds, Burnley, and Everton all involved. You know what's coming, lads. Your predictions, please. Who is going down? Now, I think the interesting thing, and I haven't got the league table in front of me, some of them have got 2 games left, and some of them have only got 1 game left. Who is going to take that last position? Jim, you first.
I'll think Burnley. But then it might be Leeds. I don't think it'll be Everton.
Mr. Noble.
Yeah, I'm going for Burnley.
Right, okay.
I've been saying for a few weeks, I think it's Leeds United to go down. Leeds got 1 game left. They've got to go to Brentford. I can't see them getting anything at Brentford at all. Brentford are decent with Eriksen in the side. You saw that when they beat Everton yesterday. So I think Everton will finish on 36 points. I can see Burnley winning that last game at home. Turf Moor, home crowd. They're playing Newcastle in the last game. I don't think they'll get anything at Villa. They might scrape a draw. I mean, let's face it, they put up a good fight against Tottenham yesterday. A bit unlucky, really, to come away from that one empty-handed. So I think Burnley, even though they lost, they've got a bit of momentum. Very unfortunate, I think, if you watch that one. For me, it's never handball, it's never a penalty. And Barnes also hit the post. So I think Burnley will win a game. I think they'll finish on 37. I think Leeds won't win their game. They'll finish on 35. And that means that Everton will stay up by default, basically. I'd love to beat Everton. The only good thing, I suppose, on Thursday, when I'm going to the game, is that we will probably get out alive because we actually can't send Everton down. Even if we beat them. So I don't think Everton they might get a point against us. I can't see them getting anything at the Emirates on the final day. So Everton to finish on 36 or 37, Leeds to finish on 35, Burnley to finish on 37. There you go. Leeds to go down, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Rob Cranfield. Dirty Leeds. I'll say that I hope they go down. I'd like to see Everton go down because no team's too big to go down. I sort of Paul Glance, mate of mine, lives in Spain and he's moaning because he's of that age now where he moans all the time and he says Benidorm is mobbed with thousands of Rangers fans. I've got a couple more questions for you. One from Mark Callaghan, and he says, this is one of 2, Jim, same straight. Added points you would go from striker to fullback. And Lee Lockwood said, Jim, which other player nowadays reminds you of yourself? So how did Doris go from striker to fullback?
Basically, because he weren't scoring much in the way of a centre forward. And I don't know if it was Terry Venables or Malcolm Allison moved to me right back, and he loved running. He was up and down the park all day long. He'd run all over the place. So, and he used to get stuck in. And I suppose whoever was the coach at the time just decided that he fancied him at right back. He probably played there in training or in a practice game, and that was it. But he'd become a really good right back. He'd be great in our team now, belting up and down that line. Oh, the other question, God, how can I answer that?
Ronaldo.
How can I answer that? Messi. I'll pass on that one.
Fair enough. Nick,
muted. You're muted, Nick.
Just while Nick's unmuting himself for the umpteenth time tonight, I just saw it just went through the comments. I think someone's alluded that if we can beat United last game of the season, there's a possibility that they, for the first time in generations, will finish with a minus goal difference, and we can end up for the first time well, I think probably in the first time. Well, it will be the first time in the top flight of with a plus goal difference, which will be an amazing turnaround in fortunes.
Yeah, and Joe, you also mentioned Dirty Leeds a couple of minutes ago, and I'm really glad you did. And nobody's mentioned this in the chat. Talking about top of the league, have you seen that this weekend, Dirty Leeds United, as they've always been known, currently top the yellow cards list in the Premier League this year? They've now hit the 100 mark. Okay, Palace are down on 62, I think it is, but Leeds United have gotten 100 yellow cards so far this season. Go on, John.
Jim, the fellas will know that I know a few players that have just left the game recently, and they used to tell me bits and pieces. But I don't know if this could get you in trouble. I don't know, but I'll ask you, and you can say yes or no.
Don't answer it, Jim, if you don't want to.
Yeah. So, Ayling, for me, has looked like he's been wanting to get sent off. From our game, he tried his best to get himself. Should have been sent off against us. Next game, I am, I'm told that this is the time of the year that if you want an extended holiday, you just get yourself a red. Did you ever know players that just went, I've had enough of this. I am so tired. I just fancy an early end of the season and smash someone deliberately. It must. I know it goes on. 100%.
I know it was done a few times over the Christmas and New Year period because people wanted a week off. But there was one player, guy called Gary Lott that played right back for us, come from Chelsea. He's now in Australia. And we were playing one particular game. Alan Mullery was manager. And the ball was down on the left-hand side of the opposition, down their fullback side. And Gary Lott suddenly walked across, past me. I can't remember who the other centre-half was. Past them, past the fullback, straight into the tunnel and down, and we never saw him again. I said, walking off, I said, where are you going? He went, I've had enough of this shit, and went. He just went, I've seen a Facebook thing, he's in Australia. But so he just walked out the game. I've never seen that before.
Did we sign him from Chelsea? He was at Chelsea, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was a good lad. He was a good player, Gary. Yeah.
Listen, boys, we've taken up enough of your time. And on that subject, I want to do a couple of mentions because we are approaching the last show of the season, which incidentally, I've just been told, thank you, Ian, it's Monday night because the last game of the season is on Sunday. A couple of quick thank yous, if you don't mind, just run with me on this. People, it's our 500th Premier League game this season. In the background, giving up their time every week is Greg, who's producing tonight, Lucy, who's just come back from bronzing her bod in St. Lucia. Nigel Croucher has done more work for us this season than anybody else in the background, and you are a fantastic member of the team. Tom Clark, Samuel, all the different people that come on and contribute. You three are obviously at the top of the list. I've got to say that here. But seriously, to each and everyone that's contributed to the show, everybody in Facebook land that's contributed to the show, the questions crew, you're still out there. Georgia Wagyu, I hope the Arsenal game's going well for you tonight, mate, because we know you're a closet Arsenal gooner. Thank you so much for everybody that's contributed so far this season. We have got one more double header for you on Monday night where we review the Everton and Man United games. Look, there's the Premier League. Can we finish top half? We're currently sitting on 45. Oh, look at that. It's very good. So the worst one of all, of course, and I tweeted this out on the Red and Blue Review account earlier this week, is I don't really care what happens for the rest of the season. We've just got to finish above them scumbags down on the South Coast. It's going to be a tough ask because sadly they are playing some good football. And a quick word about him. What a player he's been for us this season. A great squad player, and I think and a good goal. So on behalf of myself and Nick Philpott, we will be back on Monday night. But for the very last show of the season, Ian and Jill, thank you as always. I don't know why he's putting those up. Jim Cannon, what can I say? As always, we'll sort that curry out in the next few weeks at the end of the season, okay? Ian, we're finished. Ian, to you first. One positive note, please, to finish the show.
Well, the positive note is simply, we've touched on it. First time ever in our Premier League history to finish with a positive goal difference. We're at +4 at the moment. And provided we don't ship 5 in the next 2 games, which I don't think we will, we finish with that positive goal difference. And another stat for you, I'm going to give you 2 positives. Goals against so far after 36 games stands at 43. Goals against last season, 66. That is massive. That's a massive improvement. So, what is that stat? We're 50% better than we were last season in terms of goals against. And I think that's fantastic credit. So 2 positive stats for you there from me.
Thank you, mate. Jill, you're positive, and whatever else you wanted to say, please, mate.
Well, I was just about to pick this out of the chat, and Paul Bristow said Patrick Vieira now has the lowest losing percentage of any Palace Premier League manager. So, I mean, that only just goes back to 93. So, I don't know if anyone's been better. I mean, Sir Steve, a couple of years before, I reckon, might have had a better stat. But yeah, no, I'm very happy, and again, I'm sure we'll cover this on the last show of where we said we would finish, and I did say 8th or 18th. I don't think I'm going to be far away, really.
You're going to be closer to 8th and 18th, aren't you? But it is in our own hands to finish 9th.
Indeed.
So if we win our last 2 games, Leicester can finish above us, but no one else can. Wolves as well, including them. We can get above them.
Ledge, positive from you.
Positive that the Player of the Year award wasn't won by a goalkeeper, which means that we didn't rely on defending for 38 games of the season.
And I'll give you my positive. What a season. What a season. We were clear favourites. I don't know if any of you saw that tweet, that clown, I don't know, is a reporter for somebody or other. And we finished bottom of the league, relegated and gone. And of course, some bright spot Palace fan has brought it back and said, well, that aged well, didn't it? And of course, it got millions of retweets. So what a season. Semi-finalist of the FA Cup. Red and Blue review still ticking away in the background. Okay, and we will be doing it again all next season. And Chloe, I haven't forgotten you. I'm coming to get you. In fact, Chloe might be joining us for the Man United and Everton reviews. Boys, thank you for joining us. Everybody in Facebook land, you two take good care of each other. Okay, we'll see you Monday night. Join us for the last show of the season. On behalf of the whole team, good night, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.